Bawumia kwaba eba POG Media so said the Danny diet nasi I just say oh my god political headlines the be night just yes I can the baba biku media so ne the baba so mo na mo so hu the echo and the eba oh my god muna the boy the right in man I just say and the any so chair ambulance trial case just say and also bobo the buy since a couple of years back just say na Richard Jakpa and the then AG Free&Damé and then the current finance minister Addo Casey Fàcé na kyerɛ na saa nkɔfokuo yi mmiɛnsa na ɔmo nso ho bɔn saa issue yi ma kyerɛ ɔmo nso court di ho akɔneaba di court akɔneaba de kɔ de ba na ne na biribi aso etimi ba na wie ya Addo Fàcé enya ne tiri nso de adidi ma me no ka sɛ ani gye so abɔ egyera na ka kyerɛ a sɛ akɔbɔ n'adwuma as the finance minister de abɔ my Ghana nanso nkɔfo mmienu a ɔmo nso kaeɛ wɔ case me Free&Damé ne Richard Jakpa de kame akɔyɛ sɛ petition bi nso abɔ yɛra CID office aside Richard Jakpa de na ɔno nso de kɔma CID so investigate Free&Damé ne evidence bi a ɔno nso forge de ba court no some citizen bi nso a petition CID so no so ehwehwɛ mu kwan bi a Richard Jakpa ene Supreme Court judges one of the Supreme Court judges so etimi hyia o baabi a tesomo so timi koye two man bi a ono so say influence judgment no abusua ma say bejebre ne abo the rasa issue that's it.
Next show on Ghana tonight, the ambulance trial, it's over. This last year, the court acquitted and discharged all these accused persons, but the controversy isn't over yet. There are calls for further investigations into the exact actions of the persons involved, and that's growing, at least over the last almost a week now. We unpack the developments in the last 1 week regarding this particular case and the calls on the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service. Here's what we do now right now, and this is coming through earlier in the day. A Ghanaian citizen, Daniel Mafu of Foriata, has petitioned the Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, that's the CID of the Ghana Police Service, to commence an investigation into allegations against Supreme Court Justice Yoni Kolendi and the Director of Operations at the National Security Secretariat, that's Richard Jakpa, for what he says is, quote, an obstruction of justice, unquote, and interference in the ambulance case. Now, his petition comes barely a week after Richard Jakpa, mentioned in this one, also petitioned the CID to investigate immediate past Attorney General Godfrey Addo in this same case. Also, we're going to put the two side by side and find out exactly what the specific demands of these two petitions to the CID are. One targeted at investigations, calls for investigation into the actions of Godfrey Addo, and this latest one calls for investigation into the actions of Justice Yoni Kolendi and Richard Jakpa. Now, the man to do this has been away for quite a while. He's back with the bank. Dennis Poberi Wadam Esquire. It's good to have you back.
Always a pleasure being here, Alfred.
Leave is certainly not pension.
Precisely so.
Absolutely.
I missed the moment that I was here. But I'm back.
Indeed.
And it's good to watch you from home. It is.
Well, it's short-lived, as you have it.
Well, we have to do this together. Alfred, unfortunately, I'm here in the midst of a controversy that never runs out.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a matter that started somewhere. The previous years, we all thought it was done and dusted when this case was closed in the sense that the accused persons were discharged and acquitted. An appeal that was filed was subsequently abandoned, so we thought there was an end to it. But it appears to be running on multiple legs now. The fallout now having to mount pressure on the CID to also look into some parts of this particular issue, and that's what we're having to deal with. So the men that you see here are the men at the center of this whole issue that we're having to deal with tonight. The first person, Justice of the Supreme Court, His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi. The second person is the former Attorney General, the learned Godfrey Addo. You also have the Director of Special Operations at the National Security Secretariat, Richard Jakpa. he's a petitioner in one of the instances. So he was the first person to run to the CID, saying that the CID should look into what he says was a misconduct or a criminal conduct in respect of his engagement with the former Attorney General in respect of that ambulance trial. Then the last person is Daniel Oforiatta. He identifies himself as a Ghanaian citizen. He also happens to be the latest petitioner in this particular respect. And
That's
for
right.
him, he wants the CID to look into the conduct of two persons, Richard Jakpa and then His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi, also in respect of the same ambulance matter, because as you would see in some aspects of the petition, he makes references to some encounters that were indeed confirmed in court, that yes, there were some meetings that were held. For him, he's of the view that those meetings were in furtherance of what he says amounts to some crimes that he wants the CID to look into. Let's move straight into some excerpts of that latest petition as was presented to the CID by Mr. Mafu. So let's start with Mr. Mafu's petition. Yes, so we begin from here.
That's right. This is what came through earlier today, right?
Yes.
Good.
So we have just decided to characterize the relevant parts of it because it's a bit lengthy and all that. So parts of it reads that the acts of Justice Kolendi and Richard Jakpa border on the commission of crimes relating to interference with legal proceedings. So let's put the issues into perspective. So while the trial of Dr. Keslato Forsen and two others, and the two others here refer to Mr. Nemana and then Richard Jakpa, but for some reason on ill health, Mr. Nemana was taken out. So the trial was literally on Dr. Keslato Forsen and then Richard Jakpa. It came to light that there was a meeting in which Jakpa was involved together with the Attorney General, then the former Attorney General now, Godfrey Adami, and then His Lordship Justice Kolendi. That meeting was said to be held in Justice Kolendi's house. Now, what is the reason for the meeting? It is yet unclear, even though different parties have tried to explain it in different ways.
Absolutely.
There are allegations and counter-allegations. While Richard Jakpa says that that meeting was at the behest of the former Attorney General so that he could get a favorable testimony to convict now Minister for Finance, Dr. Keslato Forsen. This petitioner says that that meeting was in essence to get the former Attorney General to clear Richard Jakpa. So it is one meeting, different narratives. Yes. So that's why he now says that this particular meeting that he talks about and that the conduct of Justice Kolendi and Richard Jakpa border on the commission of crimes relating to interference with legal proceedings. He doesn't name specifics, but with the aid of law, we will come to understand what it means to say crimes relating to interference with legal proceedings, because we find it in our body of laws.
Perfect.
He goes on to say that when Mr. Dami turned down Richard Jakpa's overtures to meet Justice Yoni Kolendi in breach of the code regulating his work as a Superior Court judge, lured the then Attorney General into meetings at that's Justice Kolendi's residence on no less than 4 occasions. Justice Kolendi would then secretly invite Richard Jakpa to come over to his house and interfere in legal proceedings pending against Jakpa by impressing upon Mr. Dami to stop the prosecution of the former and ensure that the prosecution would let him go free at the submission of no case stage of the trial. He goes on to say that after narrating all that he has said, referring to a CID boss as Madam, that it shows a calculated effort by the learned justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Yoni Kolendi, together with his cousin, Richard Jakpa, to interfere in the prosecution of the criminal case filed against Richard Jakpa by the Republic of Ghana. This is not only a dishonorable, but also borders on the commission of crimes in accordance with the Criminal and Other Offences Act 1960, Act 29. This is his own appreciation of the issues. Never mind that.
So this is the claim of the petitioner.
Yes, the
which
petitioner.
He wants.
Who in this case is now a third party. And when I say a third party, he is not the person who was at the said meeting. Because it came to light. Yes, indeed, there was such a meeting. That meeting was Yoni Kolendi,
Richard
Jakpa,
and then
the former Attorney General, Godfrey Addo. But he says that from what he has gathered, this was what transpired, and this was the motive for the meeting, for which he wants the CID to look into. Now, let's move a step backwards. Like I indicated, he says that what they did border on commission of crimes relating to interference with legal proceedings. And he refers to Act 29. We have been combing Act 29 to see what exactly it means to say crimes relating to legal proceedings. When you look at Act 29, which is the Criminal Offences Act, there's a part that is labeled interference with legal proceedings. That is a substrata under a gamut of laws which relate to administration of justice or obstruction of it, if you like. But the part that specifically relates to interference with legal proceedings is sections 220 to 225. And this is the nature of the offenses that have been captured in there. Section 220 talks about hindrance of inquests. This is very remote to whatever we're discussing. Inquest has to do with
nothing to do.
Exactly. The next one, which is 221, is neglect to hold inquest. That one too.
It's not related in any way.
Yes.
Media, I'm sure like so on subscribe to a POG Political Media as well. And the account swap job subscription now I share now offer so and so it's me account from the POG the about Ghana authentic political headlines a POG Media so and also sabet me account who the echo and the airban now bet me so as likely to the comment section or now also wait me at the come on a POG about now you see about Mahama and some matches and also a boy the buy ambulance keys in and TD be brave and another a man be quiet to meet Petitíonéd say a deal no, not just almost so as Sasha, not just say a yes, captured so now almost so Eddie grass I Mafu and so it's me now sound quiet. Eddie go pay more quarter a me no say here and also it's me a berry at forcing and so it's me a butchery at the end of the case.
Now there's 222 which talks about violence against judges, etc. in legal proceedings.
Okay.
This falls under the category of offenses interference with legal proceedings.
But in the context of what we are discussing, it doesn't apply?
No.
Okay.
There's disturbance of courts. Section 224 talks about insulting courts. And then 225 talks about exciting prejudice as to proceeding pending in court.
Right.
So it's quite unclear exactly which parts of the interference with legal proceedings is being referred to in this particular petition. But it's also important to know that beyond this, there's a whole gamut of provisions that relate to obstruction of justice. But to put this in context, just because he used the phrase interference with legal proceedings, we just wanted to be clear that, yes, if the CID is looking into it, perhaps this is
the section they would look in
Act
29.
Beginning point to look at it.
Right.
Before maybe considering expanding it to other parts. Because in part of the petition, he talks about obstruction of justice and all that. That is the full complement of the petition as presented by Mr. Mafu in this particular matter.
Right.
But like you did indicate, even before today, Mr. Jakpa had also gone to the same CID, where he also petitioned the CID on similar grounds, the same set of facts. That yes, during the course of the trial, there was an engagement between myself and the former Attorney General in respect of that particular matter. He believes that that engagement was inappropriate because, in his view, the Attorney General was basically trying to elicit favorable responses for him to get someone convicted. And in some instances, he makes allegations that he was being coached and actually being coached to get fake documents to put before a law court. He thinks that is not appropriate. So this is his petition as well. One, he says that at the close of the prosecution's case, the High Court upheld that the then Attorney General, Damé's contention that a case had been made against me to answer. He was just characterizing the background. Yes. 2 says that Damé's solicited my cooperation to testify in a manner to incriminate the first accused person and to help fast-track the conclusion of the case. Emphasis. Solicited my cooperation to testify in a manner to incriminate the first accused person and to help fast-track the conclusion of the case.
And the first accused in this instance is Dr. Kasiel Atufo.
Precisely. This is an allegation made by Richard Jakpa. He goes on to say that the testimony to incriminate Honorable Dr. Atufo after I opened my defense led to a phone call on me on the 26th day of March 2024 by the learned Attorney General when I was to appear in the High Court to continue my evidence in chief in terms of the witness statement I had filed. In the phone conversation between the then Attorney General and me, which I have attached to this petition, he suggested that during cross-examination, I testified not based on matters personally perceived and understood by me, but based on his suggestion, and to skew my understanding of the issues in such a way to implicate the first accused person and to further lie to the court that I was not well by procuring a false excuse duty to that effect. All these are allegations that Mr. Jakpa is making against the former Attorney General. He says these are matters that have happened, for which he wants the CID to look into, and that if these matters are looked into and they turn out to be true, some of them constitute crimes for which the state must take interest. He proceeds to say that in that telephone conversation, Dammé directly engaged me on the subject of the letters of credit as an Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana and stated how he thought I should answer questions regarding the letters of credit during cross-examination, contrary to my honest understanding and knowledge of how letters of credit work. I disagreed with him, but he insisted that it would not bear any risk to me. He further said he would be traveling out of the country and not be able to be in court at the next adjourned date, and that I seek an adjournment from the court by getting an excuse duty from a hospital to the court that I was sick to allow him to be present in court before I proceed with my testimony. But I declined this criminal, dishonest, and unethical suggestion from him as an Attorney General then. In the circumstances, I pray that the attempt by Dammé for me to testify in a particular way so as to dishonestly, wickedly, and without an iota of conscience implicate Honorable Dr. Atufo and also to lie to the court by procuring a false excuse duty which constitutes a crime, that's fabrication of evidence. That's actually a crime in a Criminal Offences Act.
Right.
Be investigated and made to face the full consequence. So in his case, at least, he has mentioned a specific crime for which he wants the CID to look at. Fabrication of evidence.
But then also the Oforiatta petition also mentions interference.
Yes.
In the entire process.
But he gives them a direction that look in this side.
In a specific section in Act 29.
Exactly.
Which doesn't specifically, at least at the starting point.
As a starting point.
Give us
by way of
direction.
aiding the CID in its investigation, I am giving you leads that look in this direction. You find something of that sort. But what is instructive is that under paragraph 7 of Mr. Jakpa's petition, he thinks that what happened amounts to fabrication of evidence.
Right.
Which is an offense, expressly. So he wants the CID to look into this particular matter and then deal with it. But Alfred, what is also important is that it's not just matters with the CID. Because if you recall, somewhere in May, another Ghanaian also petitioned the General Legal Counsel in respect of the former Attorney General. That is because he was not just an Attorney General. I mean, he's a lawyer, a respected one at that. And in the view of that person, that what transpired in this particular matter for which we are seeing Mr. Jakpa and other people raising concerns amount to professional misconduct, which is one which is dealt with by the General Legal Counsel. So that is also pending before the General Legal Counsel. But we are now beginning to see the criminal aspect of this, which is now before the CID. So, in all, these are the persons involved in what we are discussing today, the fallout from the ambulance trial, which ended somewhere last year.
It's a very important reference point. And then Martin Pebo is a private legal practitioner. He's been watching you. Then it's run through all of this and put the two petitions side by side. And Martin Pebo, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First off, we reference the fabrication of evidence that Richard Jakpa is asking that the CID investigates. That act of the alleged fabrication of evidence that he says Godfrey Addo was asking that he should do to testify in a certain way against Dr. Kasiela Toforsin. Plus, this latest one from Mafu who has also petitioned the CID to now investigate Justice Yoni Kolendi and Richard Jakpa in this same case regarding the specific meeting that took place at Yoni Kolendi's house, exactly what was discussed and its aftermath. I mean, with all the events flowing, how does all of this strike you?
So, somebody will say, luckless coincidence. Another person too will say, a very well orchestrated attempt to neutralize the Jakpa petition against Godfrey Damé. Yes. So we would never know which one is really the gospel truth, if we may call it so. But in such is life. Sometimes you may never know the real story behind the story. So we'll take it like that. But on the face of it, since this second petition is also presented as an attempt to get accountability, then it means that we have to give the petitioner his day in investigations. Yes, instead of his day in court. We don't know whether this will end up in court or not. So we say his day in investigations, right? So let it go. Sometimes, you know, as I said, because the key thing we should be watching is this. Because often citizens don't feel empowered and some citizens are scared, and for so many other reasons, citizens generally don't like to take on persons in authority. I would say we should hasten slowly in condemning the petition. He's a citizen, that's Daniel Oforiatta, right? Let him have his day. Yes, let him have his day. Because if we don't, then it would appear that we embrace Jakpa's petition against Godfrey Damé, but we are blowing hot and cold by summarily dismissing this Daniel Ofori's petition against Jakpa and Justice Kolendi. So for that reason, as I said, let's allow this one to also receive due process.
It's important. Just mentioning the name in full, because Daniel Ofori also sends a definite signal, because that's another matter, another name and another issue. This is Daniel Mafu Oforiatta. It says, in what we know is from Brony Chrome in Chebi. And if you look at the details of the petition, as Dennis carefully ran through, it meticulously outlines 4 key pieces of evidence that he says he wants the CID to look into and conduct: intervention at arraignment, facilitating contact, what's
so come on I bought a garage medium say POG Media the Banaka authentic political headlines are a POG Media so and also bet me account of one who the echo and the urbanina my Ghana political space now subscribe to that make sure drop subscription now slide into the comment section or now also waiting me so adding come on and a POG everybody now you see about my that's it surgery now POG Media the best